Everyone. Hola, hola, amigos, amigas. Bienvenidos. Welcome to Lima, Peru. Welcome to my home and welcome to another session dedicated to the greatest mysteries of Peru. Today, we are going to talk about one of the topics most archaeologists, of course, don't like to talk. That's why it's a mystery still. But we have some specialists and experts that have set their eyes in things that are connected with the archaeology and the past that are very hard to be explained by the traditional archaeology or the historians also. So we're going to try always to cover these uncomfortable topics in these sessions. So thanks a lot for coming. Thank you so much for your visit to Lima and also for your interest in Peruvian history, Peruvian culture, and as well Peruvian tradition. My name is Vanessa Vasquez. I am your Lima City tour guide, and I've been guiding groups in Lima, in my city, and around the country for several years. I have over 15 years of experience as a tour guide. In this series, I always address themes that are part of well, let's say the most common questions I get during my tours or when I'm taking groups to different parts of the country. And we go to museums, and there we see, for example, interesting symbols that are very hard to explain with traditional archaeology. So, well, I really hope you enjoyed today's event. And also, well, I will say first hi to all the people joining. I just was concentrating welcoming you. So let me say hi to everyone joining. Hola, hola amigos. Hola Susan, Marilyn. Hello Marilyn, ¿cómo estás? Debra, Terry, Cari. Hello amigos, ¿cómo están? Thank you so much, Peggy. Hello Cass. Hi Jan. Hi Norma. Cornelia, hola. Hello, hello Katie. Hola JB, Ellen, Queen. Thanks for visiting Lima. Adrian, hello, amiga Nate. Culture D, mwah, thanks for coming again. Catherine, Gregory, D. So it is really a pleasure to have you. And I know that most of you are interested in Peru. I've seen also many of you in my previous tours. So this, I am sure, is going to be really like mind-blowing event. And this is one of my series they're going to be coming soon about, well, immigrations to South America that are not really the ones we know from regular like history books. We're going to also get on understanding if there was any chance that the pre-Hispanic societies had the chance of meeting people from all the cultures of the world before the coming of the conquistadors. So before we begin, and already, well, I say hi to some of you, but I see people coming still. Hola, Luis. Hola, Robin. So feel comfortable, please, of asking as many questions as you wish. If you have any question, if you need to know something like I didn't explain clearly, or maybe something that you would like me to answer at the end of this event, so you can drop your questions here in the chat section. You can also, let's say, if you wish, and ask to other participants, there's no problem. But I would like you to, if there's any question, try to put maybe a Q at the beginning so I know it's a question for me. So it's really all right that people can converse. But if it's a question, sometimes I get a little bit distracted with the conversations. So you can put a Q at the beginning so I know it's a question for me. Also, if you would like to support this event, as you know, these are free events, and the idea is that everybody can join and participate with no, let's say, previous payment. I really love that. As a self-taught in many different topics tour guide, I know how important it is to be able to access to information. But if you would like to support with a donation, with a tip, that would be super fantastic, because we tour guides are not paid by Hego. We are paid by your generosity and your tips. If you would like to know how to do it, I am activating now a button that is a tip button that you can use if you wish until even after the end of this event. So you don't need to do it right away if you are now more focused in the event. You can also become a sponsor of the channel. That could be also very, very helpful for me, especially to continue growing and bringing new material for you all. My previous events are on my YouTube channel. You can also access to my YouTube channel if you go to my Hago channel on my Hago profile. There you are going to see all the links to my previous events. I think now we can begin, and let's start with this theme, with this topic that is very, I'm sure, controversial. Okay, so now we're going to turn off the light and we are going to switch the camera. So today's event is about the possibility of an immigration from China to Peru, to what nowadays we call Peru, this beautiful territory, this beautiful country, but before the coming of the conquistadors, before the coming of the Spanish. So you know that the Spanish conquest of Latin America, of what we call nowadays, like Hispanic America, started in the let's say the 15th century. This conquest began in Peru in the year 1532. So was there any chance that before the coming of the conquistadors, other societies from all the distant parts of the world were able to reach Peru, to reach the Incas and even the pre-Inca people? So we are going to discover this today. If there was the possibility, there must have been evidences. So today, I'm going to be using also the information from a book that is really interesting. I will turn just one more time the camera to show you this book, which is really fantastic. The book is called La Inmigración China al Perú, the Chinese immigration to Peru. And it really covers all the history of the Chinese immigration from the, of course, the most known immigration that we had, that was in the time of the 19th century with the coolies, the Chinese workers that came to Peru and North America, also in different parts of the Americas in that time. But also in one section of this book, it covers the topic that we're going to talk today about. Okay, so said this, now we're going to continue. So this story, the story of the immigration from China to Peru, can be explained also in multiple forms and also multiple, let's say, periods of our history. There are three theories that talk about the migration of humans to the Americas. Probably the most famous one is the one that says that people crossed the Bering Strait, this section, about 40,000 years ago. Of course, there were probably multiple times when this strait with this ice bridge was formed, because there were many ice ages also in our history. But it is pointed, this section, this part here, as the entrance from Asia to the Americas by the people, humans, who came about 40,000 years ago into the Americas. But I want to also talk about two more possible theories that explain the coming of people from Asia to the Americas. One of them is what is called the Aleutian Islands crossing. These are the Aleutians, which are islands that are really connected to Japan also and Alaska. And these islands are many. They are not really huge islands, but they are many. It's like it's a whole pathway that is conformed by these sometimes very, very small islands. In total, there are 14 big islands. There are 55 small islands and hundreds of islets. So very, very tiny ones. right? So this could be also one of the possible routes of, let's say, connection or movement between Asia and America. Also, something important is that some people will believe that this was impossible. A crossing like this one, would take like a months, and that could not be possible. Well, in the year 1980, a Japanese ship called Jaseiho crossed the Pacific Ocean, crossing basically this section here, all the Aleutianian Islands, in just 50 days. So, of course, 50 days is still a long time, but we know that you can cross the islands without really seeing, like one, let's say soil or island for more than one day. So possibly actually doable for that ancient times. So another possible route could be the one you're seeing here, which is by or the use of currents, right? And this other theory says that using the South Pacific current of the Humboldt current, right? So this South Pacific current that, let's say, begins in Polynesia and then goes downwards and even reaches Chile, the coast of Chile, and then goes upwards to what nowadays is Peruvian territory, part of Ecuador, and then returns also to Asia, the Polynesia and Asia. Well, that is a more possible actually route. Remember that in the ancient times, the oceans were pretty much like sort of like speedways or freeways. In the old days, people used to navigate a lot more than nowadays. Sorry, I'm going to just put my gimbal better. Okay, so now you know that these two possible, let's say, routes could be used also in ancient times by the ancient societies of these territories to move from one continent to the other, right? But we're going to continue now with this next image, in which you can see also how the people from Peru, from the Patagonia, from the jungle, from the Amazon look like nowadays. Of course, that in Peru and in many parts of the Americas, we had a very strong, let's say, immigration from Europe initially, and then also from Africa, which was a forced immigration because we had slavery back in that time, established during the colonial period. So there are countries where the African, let's say, genetics are stronger than others. For example, in the Caribbean, there is a stronger African influence. In Peru, we have pretty much like a very, very well mixed society. We have Chinese, Japanese, African. We have also Spanish. We have Europeans in general, and we have also the indigenous. But when you get to have an image of the people of, let's say, societies that are much more isolated, that were not that much mixed genetically, you can definitely see that there are interesting features that really look very Asian. Of course, that we all know that we are connected at some point with the Asian, let's say, migrants, no, into this location. Remember, 40,000 years ago, at least, there was a crossing from Asia to the Americas. But it is important to see that there are lots of similarities between the people from from Asia and also from the Americas. The indigenous of the Americas could be Andean people and people from the jungle. Okay, so I don't know why this camera is moving so much. Sorry that it's moving. Usually it's not. So I really hope this works a little bit better. Okay, so we're going to continue with the next image. So something very important now is to talk about the time frames that I am mentioning in this moment, because we are talking about the pre-Hispanic times. We know for sure that we had a big Chinese immigration in the 19th century, so big that it's estimated that about 100,000 Chinese came to Peru in that time. But we are talking about the period before, right? So before the conquest of the Spanish, before the conquistadors, the Spanish conquistadors, Peru actually had lots of different societies at the same time. When we say, Peru was the land of the Incas when the Spanish conquistadors came, that is really not true, because yes, there were Incas. Inca was one society, was a dominant society, a society that was also in process of expansion, but they didn't consolidate that expansion yet, because the Incas sort of like they had just about 70, 80 years to create the empire that they were now trying to maintain or keep all together. And then the conquest comes and they are not able to hold it in one piece. They were too young as an empire. But at the same time of the Incas, there were many different societies. So we're going to concentrate in the societies of the coast. Some of these societies existed at the same time, like the Incas, but also some other societies disappeared before the Incas. So, for example, we have, and let's focus now in the section of Peru first, just to give you an idea of the local situation before the conquest. Also, we have the Incas, for example. This is a historic frame of the Incas. We have the Chimu culture. Chimu people actually coexisted with the Incas. The Chimu people were one of the societies that were conquered by them. And we have also in the upper part here, societies that existed before the Incas that had no connection with them. And therefore, something very important is that we have archaeological evidences that we cannot really explain clearly. Unfortunately, many of these archaeological evidences are sort of like hard to be explained, but today we are going to bring those archaeological evidences for you all, and we are going all together to try to uncover the mysteries connected with them. So being the oldest society that we're going also to be referring to, the one called Cupisnique or Chavin. Chavin was known until the 80s as the mother culture of Peru, the oldest culture of Peru. But now we know there was a society even older called Caral. So Caral dates back to almost 5,000 years ago, right? And well, in the case of Chavin, we're talking about 3,000 years ago. So they are way older, way older than the Incas, for example, just to give you an idea. And we can also see the side of China. In the section where the Chinese societies, the evolution of the Chinese societies are, we can see also that in terms of antiquity, right? We have societies that were equally old, like the ones of China, and also developed, indeed, as in the case of the Chinese cultures, right? For example, the Incas were parallel to the Ming dynasty, for example, no, and the Chimu with the Yuan dynasty, right? Being the oldest one and also parallel to the one of Peru, the oldest one that we have in this chart, the Shang dynasty. Okay, so we can see that there was, like a cultural presence in both sides of the world. And also, I am mentioning this, the example of the Olmecs, because also they are really interesting evidences of Asian, of Chinese presence, even in that part of North America, Central America, right? So now we're going to talk a little bit about similarities between the both cultures, the Chinese culture in general, the Chinese, let's say, ancient societies, and the Peruvian ancient societies. So number one, something very important is that both societies pay respects to the sun. They had a big respect and considered themselves being the children of the sun. How important also for us understanding that at least we have some starting points that let's say align in the same beliefs, the same ideas, both societies, right? So for example, the image you have here in this section, this is a series of caves that are located in China, in which we have also the evidences of a call to the sun, an early call to the sun. The name of this cave is the cave of Kisil, Kisil Cave, right? We know also in Peru, in the Peruvian side, that the sun has been, of course, a very important god for the people of Peru. But to be very honest, when we try to go into the field of speculations, we sometimes get too excitated with elements that are really like let's say simple, no? And to be honest, most of the societies around the world were worshippers of the sun. Mhm. Is the sun worshiping usual? Oh, Gregory, actually, you read my mind. That's what I was saying, no? So to be honest, no, this is really not something like so fundamental, right? For example, the Egyptian society also worshiped the sun, so well, we are having, one important element over here. Okay, so we have now another important element, the cult to the mountains. Okay, so well, although the call to the sun is important and is very well defined in the world, the call to the mountains, is less defined. Mountains as mothers, as protectors, as sort of like the entities that are the ones that give, like a fertility, no? And this element also very curious that you can find in Asia, you can find also in Peru, and in some parts of the world, we call it here the apacheta, the apacheta. Apacheta is this peeling of stones, one over the other, as a way of a present for the mountains, right? Usually, the people of Peru carry these stones. For example, when they're doing a trip to the mountains, they carry these stones in the back, like it could be in their backpacks, or in some type of purses that they have all the way until the end of this trip, until the end of this journey. So as a way to say thanks to the mountains and thanks for the good journey. Okay, so we're going to continue with the next element. Okay, so what we have here, of course, we have a dragon, right? This is the European dragon. This is the classical representation of a dragon of Europe. But the dragons of Europe were different to the ones of Asia. And you're going to see in a moment that in Peru we had deities that were quite similar to dragons, but not the dragons of Europe, the dragons from Asia. Let me go to the next image to show you this. Okay, so here we have the representation of you can see on the right hand side a dragon chino or Chinese dragon, and we have on the other side a Mochica dragon. The Mochica society is one of the cultures that we had in Peru way before the Incas. So we're talking about the beginnings of Christian era until the year 700 of our era, right? So notice, for example, the element that we have related with either, the mouth, the head, right? We have also the long tail. It even looks like a snake, both similar. Also, another thing important, we have these sort of like fangs or like, let's say, long nails, like the ones of could be a bird, could be a condor or a falcon, very similar to those animals. And we have also this decoration in the part of the back of the animal, that looks very similar to the Stegosaurus. Like, for example, I have made a little cut of the Stegosaurus, this dinosaur that is very famous, one of the most beloved by children. So it really looks the same. So remember, now we have complete different, like origins in terms of both dragons. But it's very important to see that we are starting to find some interesting connections. So next one. Well, we have here another important element in common, right? We have the idea of the bipolarity. We have the idea of the yin and yang. Sorry, I'm going to try to fix this here. I don't know. Sorry, what's happening with my with my gimbal. Okay, so we have here this idea of the bipolarity of what is female and male, the opposite that complement each other. In China, it is called the yin and yang. Well, in Peru, we don't have really a specific name for each one of the sides, but we talk about like complements that complete each other's, right? For example, in this piece of pottery, this is also from the ancient Mochica culture that we were talking about also in the beginning with the dragon. We have this idea of a vessel that probably was a carrier of some specific liquid that was of very big importance for a ceremony, and that's why also the vessel was buried in a tomb, because it was very important vessel. And as a, let's say, a container of an important liquid, the external part had to have an element that was connected with the ceremony in which the piece was used in. And here we can see the idea of, the two colors representing what is male and what is female. But we can see also that from each side, either the male and the female, we have the opposite color coming out, right? Very similar to the yin and yang idea. In the pre-Hispanic times, the idea of the female and male as, like important for creation of fertility was such that in every aspect of the world of the indigenous of Peru, there was always an exact opposite that was necessary. For example, the mountains had as an opposite the ocean, or the caves, or the darkness, right? And it's interesting to see that, for example, in the coast, because not all of the societies had the same beliefs, but they always believe in the idea of the duality. What was the ocean, was considered to be female, the darkness, the nighttime, this humid world under the ocean, and the upper part, the mountains, the sun, the dryness of the elevations, that was considered to be male, right? So we're going now to continue. And remember also that if you have any questions or comments, please, you can use also the chat section. And if it's a question for me, please try to put a Q in the beginning so I know it's a question for me. Thank you. So the next image you see here is what it's called in China, the Fu lions, the lions of Fu. So the lions of Fu, also known as the dogs of Fu, but I've been reading a lot of information about them, and now I know that it's incorrect to say they are dogs. They are lions, and you can see them always at the entrance of temples, for example, in the Chinese gates, at the Chinatowns, everywhere around the world. You're going to see those lions of Fu. That is, well, another mythological element that has certain level of connection with another element that you're going to see a lot in Peru. So I will try to first explain a bit of the importance of the Fu lions. No, it is also connected with the idea of protection, and you will always find them in pairs, in twos. You're going to find a male and a female at the entrance of the temples or the houses, or they are just, as decorative pieces, but always in twos. And the reason is because so far I've been able to read, the male one is connected, with a protection, let's say external, against any bad things that can happen, externally to the house. And the female one protects the family, protects, the individuals within the house, right? So this idea that, each side, male and female, take care, the people of the family in a different way, is also something we have in Peru. So also notice that we have a little dragon here, sort of like a dragon. It could be represented. Actually, we didn't use the word dragon here in Peru. And the original names given to these pieces, well, we don't know, because most of these pieces belong to cultures that were dead cultures when the Spanish came. So there's no information, documentation about, for example, even the languages these people use, because they disappear hundreds of years before the conquest happened. But we have similar elements. Maybe you can start seeing, the idea of this, like fangs, for example, and eyes of feline, and the, claws also. It is really peculiar starting to see, similarities in these ancient decorations. No? But of course, in the case of the Peruvian ones, we are seeing pieces that were buried in tombs. In the other case, the dragons of Fu are usually pieces that are like external outside the house, and they are for protection. In the other case, they were buried. Um, Here, for example, we have another piece. This is a dragon of Fu, and also we have an Incan piece. So I would like you to guess which one is which. Which one is the Inca and which one is the Fu dragon. So we have left and right. So if you would like to comment here and do the guessing, that would be super fantastic. While you're doing the guessing, which I hope you can, I would like to tell you a little bit about the piece, the Peruvian piece, that was founded here by the, also in most of the cases, many of these pieces were discovered by missionaries. They were discovered by missionaries. They were discovered by, let's say, priests who traveled to different locations in Peru. Thanks for the guessings. Thank you, lady. Thank you, friends. Keep guessing. I'm going to come to you in a moment to answer. So the story says that this person, was in Cusco, right? He was a priest, and he was in Cusco, and he found this piece at the entrance of an Inca palace, right? And there were two and not just one. Yeah, so it's the same style of the dragons of Fu, right? So I would like to now check. Hola, Cari. Thanks. The left is Inca. Inca is the left. Norma says Inca, the right. Good guessings. The Inca one is the one on this side here. This one here. This is the Inca one, right? And this is the Chinese one. So, well, as you can see, it's hard to really know, right? But yes, Carrie. So, well, we can see also interesting similarities. So the same idea at the entrance of temples. We had I had 50 chance. Yes, Casey. So, and also, yes, Gregory, very surprising, right? So we have here the Torito de Pucará, which is very interesting because it's a sort of like an evolution in Peru of the idea of these protectors of the, of the temples and the houses. Of course, still we are in the speculation. In the pre-Hispanic times, we don't have any documents that say that, but they are very similar, the way how they look and how they were considered so important, like the ones in China. So we have the Torito de Pucará. And about the Toritos, by the way, Torito means bull or little bull. So the bulls of Pucará is a region located in Puno, in the highlands of Peru. The toritos, the bulls of Pucará, are also, as you can see, these decorative pieces that are always put in pairs on top of the houses, on the rooftop of the houses, to protect the house, to protect the relatives of the family that lives in the house. So it's not just for the people of the house; it's for all the extended community, for the family in general. They are also the same size. They are very similar, like both of them. And why we have bulls and we don't have like pumas or a feline like we used to? Well, let me tell you the reason. Thanks for the yes, Carrie. Beautiful, very colorful. Each one of the colors represents something different, by the way. It's for a different purpose. So the reason is because when the conquest came, the conquistadors came with the religious orders, and the reason of the existence of this, like a religious, let's say, fight against the indigenous was. But the belief was to save the souls of the indigenous, to bring the new faith, to bring the new religion, which was, and the only one right religion, which was, in their perspective, the Catholic religion. So the indigenous had images of pumas, probably of snakes, of many other deities in their houses. But the extirpators of idolatries took them out, burned them all, because they considered them to be connected with the devils that these indigenous were worshiping. Well, at least that's what they said. Now, they were devils. So, but later, these indigenous started to replicate animals that were more accepted by the Spanish and by the church. For example, the bull, because the bull was connected with the strength of the indigenous, the strength because you plug the land. So it was a way for them to continue representing the same ideas that they had in the pre-Hispanic times, but with more acceptable, let's say, images. So we have now the next interesting element of similarity, point of connection between China and Peru. So we have here the a Chinese divinity. It is called Tao Tie. The Tao Tie is a type of god that, this one looks very, like human, but I've seen Tao Ties that are really look like evil. They have these fangs, and they have like sort of like horns, and it's definitely not human at all. No, this one is, like the most mild I found. And we have on the other side a cabeza clava or stone head from the Chavin culture. So this stone head, for example, dates back to about 3,000 years ago. So it's a very old piece of a stone, and also has the same elements like the fangs, and these eyes that look like an animal, but fusionated with a human. As though those bulls devilish. Yes, Gregory, definitely those bulls that we saw, they are very beautiful, very cute, and we actually have them as decorative pieces in many houses. They are for protection now. So about the cabeza clava, or the stone heads, they are interesting examples of Tao Ties in China, and these stone heads in Peru, in pre-Hispanic Peru, that look so alike. Like, for example, in the case of the ones of Peru, the explanation is that these representations of sort of like human animal creatures probably are representing a transformation of a shaman, into a divinity, or a shaman receiving the spirit of a god. So it's metamorphosing into this god. And even in some cases, oh, thank you, Polly. Thanks for your tip support, amiga. In some cases, we can see like running noses, like for example, over here, running noses like these two, that represent that this person probably was in in a sort of like hallucination provoked by intaking hallucinogenical plants that nowadays in Peru we still actually can consume. Shamans still offer those to travelers in Peru. So we can also see here the representation of a tautie, and once again the same element of the fangs, the horns, the eyes, very big like the eyes of a, could be a lion or a puma. So we have lots of points of similarities. Gracias, Susana, amiga. Thank you. Also here we can see these three representations of something that looks very felinic, like feline. But we can see also, the Mexico, Peru, and China here, right? And probably if I, like skip to put no the origin, the places of origin of these pieces, you will probably believe that they have at least a connection, right? That they come maybe from the same location or they represent the same, right? But no, we are actually seeing pieces that were made in complete different locations, and they all represent these divinities that show the face of a puma, fangs or feline, and fangs. And here we have some other representations of the Tao Tie in China. And in the bottom part, we have images from the Chavin culture. So in both cases, these were, carvings in stone, right? So both here and both here. So you can also see some elements that look similar, right? The more things change, the more they stay. Yes, Carrie, definitely. I do agree with you, my friend. I do agree with you. So one more example also over here, right, of the Tao Tie from China, and also elements, in particular this one here is really interesting. Like, look at this. Look at the similarity in the eyes, the sort of like these elements that are coming from the head, right? The fangs also. So there has to be some connection. Well, at least in my opinion. Uh, so we're going to continue with the next one. We have another technique, interesting, that both parts of the world share, which is the negative technique. The negative technique of painting. This is a way of painting that, well, as you can see in China and in Peru, we develop like almost the same. So look at this. We have a vessel from Bicus in Peru, and we have, this is a ceramic, a Chinese ceramic, right? And they look, to me at least, very, very similar. Even especially this detail, how possible is, like this handle between the head and the back, right? In both cases. So, and the negative technique, which is over here, it consists in, first of all, making a pottery, like, like in a regular kiln, right? Usually it will come out orange. Usually that depends a lot on the type of clay that you use, but it will come out orange, cooked. And then there is a second time to get it in, but also with the kiln closed. So in that way, it will burn. But you need to isolate certain areas, certain patterns that you want to make. It could be a resin or a wax, some type of element that will cover certain zones. So in that way, when you get it back inside and you burn it, you will burn only the sections that you didn't cover. Miss the last two slides. Yes, Tina. Well, because we have to see so many. I just wanted to, go to the next one because I really have more. But they were all about the Tao Tie, Tina. They were all about the Tao Tie and seeing some, let's say, similarities in terms of the image, and also some nowadays costumes that in Peru we use for some ceremonies, that probably have some similarity, right? Thanks for noticing that, Tina. But I promise it's getting better. It's getting better because now we're going into something I feel more, like convincing probably for many of you, because we were more in the field of speculation. But is it possible that there was any actual contact, like physical contact between travelers from Asia that probably got lost and got into Peru. Even some people speculate that there was some type of conquest of certain societies by Chinese, and we're going to talk about that, I think, more at the end of this lecture. But the evidence is not absolute, but we have some symbols, some ideograms that are definitely something to be taken in consideration. So we have here in this plate, by the way, this is a very old plate. It's a gore. It's a gore. This gore has symbols that are really like hard to believe they are just random symbols. So when the symbols are put, like here, and this is part of the investigation done in the book that I share with you in the beginning. At the end, I will share again the name of the book. And also I have a link of the book online if you want to see it. It is in Spanish, but you can always use, a system to change into English, the document. So there you can see these symbols. No, so it is very interesting because about this gore in the year 1866 in Ahuaca, an archaeological site near the city of Ica. A person from Peru found the piece, but you know that back then in the 19th century we had Chinese workers, coolies. So a coolie was called to see, if he could read something there. And this person said that the only symbol that he could read, which is not pointed out which one, said to him 20 days. 20 days, right? So, later, many years after, it was again investigated, this plate, and the newest investigations, which were done about 20 years after this moment in the 60s, also it was in the 1880s, said that these inscriptions or these ideograms could say origin or foundation, or also could say sun, right? And one more interpretation was hands together, right? If there's someone here in the group that reads Chinese, it would be lovely. I would I would love to know what are their opinions. Oh, Louis, gracias. So we're going to continue. This is another one. This piece here is from the culture called Nazca. Says Japan? Really, Louis? So, or is Japanese? Thanks to Louis. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thanks for your help. Well, I need you there, Louis, please, because I have more vessels like this one. This one here, it is another vessel, as I said before, is a Nazca vessel. No? Nazca culture appear around the year 100 of Christian era, and disappear around the year 800 of our era. Oh, and in this one here, everything looks very interesting. You see, for example, these elements of the three stairs, right, that are very pre-Hispanic. And then we have this deity, this god, and then we have this element, this symbol that is here between the legs of this god. So for Peruvians, this symbol really means nothing in particular. But yes, Luis having the right answer. So this ideogram, it is pronounced tien and means heaven. Am I right? Yes, Louis. And it's here in a vessel that dates back, to like almost 2,000 years ago. So how come we have a symbol so well written, that is, exactly something everyone that can read Chinese, traditional Chinese, can read, right? We're going to continue with this other one. Yes, Louis. Yes, heaven, sky. I also have seen some interpretations about like could be God, right? Something like above. So acclaiming to the gods. So this is the Nazca vessel number 2, right? We still are with the Nazcas. And you can see here this other symbol, right? Which looks like a little god, there. nothing in particular. Even for me, it's just a nice drawing. But then when you move the position of the god, and even erase the little eyes, it looks like a taotie. Also, you erase the eyes. There you have probably a combination of ideograms. The investigators of this symbol in particular, they first of all find the symbol, the ideogram Shan, in this sort of like crown with 3 points, which is related with the mountains, montañas, right? Also, another symbol that I was not able to find, to be honest, online, but you can help me probably, is this one here in the center, like an H, and probably was related with the symbol or the meaning of hands together, hands together. And below, again, we have Tien, right? Which means sky or heaven, right? So sort of like a pledge, like the mountains and the gods, right? So I hope you are finding this interesting. So we have also the twin gods. This is another case. This is from Chan Chang in the north of Peru. I'm so happy, Queen, you're enjoying it, Casey. This is really something. It fascinated me, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. I would never share something I am not thrilled or fascinated about. I do respect you all so much, and I want you to enrich more your knowledge about Peru. So, well, this is why these lectures are coming, right? Gracias, amigos. So look at this piece. Let me tell you a little bit about the twin gods. They were found in Chan Chan, that's located in the north coast of Peru, in a place called Trujillo. And they are two naked characters with large headdresses. This conic sort of like headdresses, necklaces also around their necks. They were made of some type of stone, but we are not very sure because this is an old picture which the originals are no longer existing. And they were discovered 16 characters in the whole, let's say, decoration of the piece, which you can see them here. So these are the characters that were discovered. Okay, so they are different ideograms, like separated. I really hope you can also visualize, if you read Chinese, traditional Chinese, maybe Japanese also, because it seems that there are some mixture of some, let's say, languages there. But the interpretation I was able to find was from the north passing to rivers, 4 different subjects, or could be from 4 different towns, like logs dragged by the wind and by the rain, following the path of the justice, or could be also the path of the honesty, or arrive to the extensive city that, well, they perfected or helped to organize, right? So, well, that is really interesting. Also, if you can, please take a screenshot of this or make a picture so you can also later keep reading, like looking for more. These all like pieces for real. They are well documented, but as I said before, some of them are gone, they disappeared. So this looks like from Shang Dynasty. Oh, Louis. Oh my gosh, that's really fantastic. So we are going. Oh, so you recognize some of them? Yeah, I know some of them could be also like not like perfectly like made. Also, the pieces pass through lots of deterioration. My mother says the H symbol looks like to raise, to elevate, probably in the previous combination. Yes, Polly, thank you so much. I'll also take note on that. Thank you, Polly. Here a little more like a zoom in these, let's say, the symbols. In the book also was able to find in Spanish, so let me tell you also which from 1 to 16 what it means. Wind, subjects, wood, follow, justice. Number 6 is city. 7 to complete. 8 extends. 9 rain, 10 difference, 11 4, 12 again, 13 river, 14 north, 15 to fall or drop, 16 extends. Okay. Muy bien. So we continue here. This one here is another interesting one. This is the Chincha plate. And in the Chincha plate, we have these three symbols that are very curious because they have this element like a little tree coming from a it looks like a seed. No? So, well, by the way, the Incas, they consider, the dead like to be also sort of like a seed that they let's say sort of like with their dead the soil prosper, right? So it could be a seed as well, but it is very interesting to see that symbols that represent these trees, because well, coming soon, there's going to be one symbol that is really fantastic. Sorry that it's taken quite long, this one, but I promise, the last ones are going to be even better. So this is another symbol. This is the Nazca ceramic, and the ideogram here, well, has been interpreted in different ways. It could mean well or cistern, right? Well, like from when you get water, like well, or cistern, right? Which is connected, of course, with obtainance of water. It is interesting because in the place where this pottery was discovered, the people from that society, they had big lack of water. They used to use water from the underground, from the phreatic table, but that water also started to disappear, so they had to move away from that location. Also, another interpretation of this piece was cave, or the ideogram in it was cave. We have another one with the same symbol of the circle and sort of like a cross on top, also in a portrait vessel from the Mochica culture. A cross and a circle. Sort of like I also have a note here about the cross, meaning the 10. So number 10. And then the circle could be say like a primitive symbol of the mouth, right? Of the let's say the symbol of the mouth also. And because it has three times, it is repeated three times, it could be also connected with the idea of sort of like what has been passed through the mouth of 10 generations, it will turn into a tradition, right? This one is another one. It's a drawing, a gigantic drawing that is located in the south of Peru. It is located in a place called Paracas. And the symbol really is not explained here in Peru. It is called the chandelier in Peru, but it is definitely not a chandelier. In Peru, in pre-Hispanic Peru, we didn't have chandeliers, first of all. And then also there's really nothing similar to this symbol in vessels, in nothing. So some specialists believe that this is really the representation of the tree of life, but also that could be connected with another symbol, which I think is this one here, which is the representation of tree in Chinese, right? So, well, it could be indeed possible, because there's really no way to understand that symbol in a different way. It's not a local symbol, and actually is located in the desert where we don't have, let's say, like trees. No, so could be something introduced from abroad. Over here, we have also some vessels that represent faces, right? Some of them are really curious because you can see here the representations of people with beards, right? In Peru, we didn't have facial hair in the pre-Hispanic times. Like men didn't have much facial hair. And what is also curious is that many of these vessels from the Mochica culture, for example, that existed between the year 100 and the year 700 of our era, the men there, they didn't use beard, but we can also compare with men from China, well, especially, the men of certain high status also that had long beard. So after the coming of the conquistadors, we started to get, of course, more facial hair, right? So how come this was possible? We are not very sure. Also, we are comparing with a Manchu emperor, and the way how they look like, which looks pretty much alike to how these images were probably like made, like inspired in. And here we have also another part, which is about the human sacrifices in pre-Hispanic Peru. Also, soon I will be doing an event about the pre-Hispanic sacrifices. So I'm sure you're going to find this very interesting, because I will teach you how the sacrifices were made, that not just women were sacrificed in the pre-Hispanic times. So that is coming next week. So in this vessel, we can see a man naked, tied with a cord, ready to be sacrificed. Uh, is it possible that some of these men who were sacrificed by the Mochica people were probably sailors, Chinese sailors that got lost in the sea and arrived to the coast of Peru, and were considered to be so special that that's why they were sacrificed? Well, there is indeed a probability. Unfortunately, we are not able to do DNA tests to all the deaths found in sites where the sacrifices happened in that time, but the potteries show men with features that are definitely not Peruvian, not 100% Peruvian. Like, look at the almond-shaped eyes, look at the way of the beard, right? They are very, very different. Also, well, in the pre-Hispanic times, men were tattooed. Some of them, not all of them, of course. And although this was probably not a tradition in Asia, if these men were for a certain period of time here, they could have been covered with painting, no? Not tattoos, but painting, for these, let's say, purposes, for these ceremonies. Yes, Marilyn, no? Very interesting. Here, another comparison with a Manchu governor, and also the pottery. With this pottery, by the way, exists in a private museum. It's located in the collection of Larco Museum in Lima. Mhm. We have also some comparisons with other paintings from that period in China, and how the pottery looks like. Mhm. And finally, last but not least, and we're coming to the very end of this lecture now with this story. This is related with a culture called Lambayeque in the north of Peru. Sorry. And oh, Gregory, I'm so happy you found it interesting. Really, these stories are fascinating. And this piece you see here, these three pieces, are related with a deity called Nailam. In the north of Peru, there is a very interesting legend that says that, this is a pre-Hispanic, pre-Incan legend, that says that the people of that community, they came from an ancestor who came from the sea. So the story says that this ancestor came from the sea, from far, far away. And he came to this territory, and he taught them new things, new ideas. He introduced them, like new techniques for plugging the earth, like a new religion, a new cult. And then later, after having children here, with local governors, they had children. He left his seat in this location. Then later he returned again to the sea. And the way how this deity is represented, because it was considered to be a deity, is with these elongated eyes that look like the eyes of a bird. Okay, so, and with this God, with Nailamp, we are coming to the end of this event. I really hope you found it interesting. This is the link to the book to this virtual book where the expert, the section about this lecture in particular that I have inspired in this event is in its totality. If you want, and you cannot, like type all of it, I will be also posting this in my group in Facebook, so you can also access directly. If you want to access to my Facebook group, also the information, so if I remember, is in my profile on Heygo, so you can also read this anytime. Also, you have here my website, and also my link tree, where all my links to all of my different channels are located. Also, let me turn on the light to say bye to you too. Let me just turn the camera. So also, well, first of all, thanks a lot for staying until the end of this event. Thanks for your support. Muchas gracias, Casey. Gracias, Peggy. Thank you so much. My group in Facebook, Tina, is called Adventures in Lima with Vanessa. Adventures in Lima with Vanessa. Gracias, Louis. Gracias, amigo. Thanks so much, because you helped me also with some of these ideograms. Thank you. And gracias, Gregory. Muchas gracias. Also, well, if you would like to support this channel and these events that I'm doing, as you know, they are all for free. Don't feel that you have to tip, but if you have the chance to do it, if you have the economy to do it, I will really, really highly appreciate that. In Peru, currently, we are not having in-person tours because of lots of political unrest we are having. So that's why I'm focusing only in my virtual tours as much as I can, so I can also bring you content and to learn more about Peru, to help you plan your trips to Peru. And well, your support, your trip support is really helpful. But also, you're not just helping your guide here in Lima, you're helping Heygo, because the tips are being split, and Heygo is also getting part of your support for them to continue existing. You can also become my sponsor if you wish. If you do that, that's a $10 fee, like subscription a month. I can give you also in return a lot of good things. I am writing 2 books in this moment, one cookbook, another one is a book about Lima, it's a guidebook about Lima. And the third thing I'm giving to my sponsors is private classes of Spanish. Also, you are all invited tomorrow to my Spanish class. It's my third lesson, so you're still on time to begin with your Spanish with me. To my sponsors, I am giving 2 private classes a month on Zoom. So in that way, we can meet, we can chat, you can practice Spanish with me, repeat after me, I can listen to you. So, well, that's a way also for me to say thanks to my sponsors. And thanks to you all that are coming and supporting these events. Muchas gracias, amigos. Gracias, Adrian. Gracias, Tina. Thank you, Gregory. Thank you so much. See you soon. And you can also visit this event, the recording, if you miss it in the beginning, on my YouTube channel. I'm going to be posting it there for you all to see it for free, as many times as you wish. Take care. Gracias. See you soon. Ciao. See you tomorrow. Bye.